Hello, everyone. Ron here from LTL Tutoring Central, and welcome to the fourth text for the read-along series. And this is the listening portion, so you can sit back and just listen to me read the story, or you can follow along. I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. And this series is to help you with your listening, reading, writing, and speaking or discussion skills. And in the speaking discussion portion, this time we're going to try a YouTube live session. So I'm looking forward to trying that out and see how that works. I will put some links below to help you understand how all of this works. But for now, let me share my screen and I will begin with the text for this one. Let me scroll up a little bit. This is from CommonLit. I'll put a link below and you can go to CommonLit to read this text as well. Why do people follow the crowd? From ABC News, 2006. Dr. Gregory Burns, a professor of behavioral science, conducted several experiments for the purpose of answering an age-old question. Why do people follow the crowd? ABC's Primetime recreated two of these experiments using several unsuspecting people. Skill focus. In this lesson, you'll practice identifying an author's central idea and how they support it. This means paying attention to the evidence and reasons they give for their idea. As you read, take note of the details that support the author's central idea. It was a classic episode on the old Candid Camera show. People getting on an elevator and turning backward just because everyone else did. And we all laughed. We laughed again during the movie Mean Girls when an act of teenage revenge, cutting nasty Queen Bee Regina's t-shirt during gym class, an act meant to insult her, became a school fashion trend instead. Turns out the joke is on us. These two examples illustrate something that we humans don't like to admit about ourselves. We follow the pack. Like birds in a flock or sheep in a pasture, we follow, sometimes at our own peril. But why are people so conformist? That is the question that Dr. Gregory Burns, an associate professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at Atlanta's Emory University, tried to answer in a recent groundbreaking experiment and paper. Primetime set up its own demonstration recreating Burns' work. Failing a test. We gathered a group of people together for a test of visual perception. The actual test was simple: to mentally rotate some 3D shapes and compare them to see whether they were the same or different. First, the volunteers wrote down their answers to 10 questions privately, but then they had to give the next series of answers out loud for everyone to hear. But this test came with a twist. One of the participants, Jocelyn, was in on the experiment. With the answers in her hand, everyone else had been told to follow her lead except for one participant, Tony. He's the only person in the room not in the know. He was being set up to see whether he would follow the pack. When the group gave the right answer, Tony agreed. And when everyone gave the wrong answer, Tony still agreed. Unwittingly, Tony had demonstrated Burns' point precisely. The group's influence on Tony profoundly altered the results. He went from 90% on his written test to 10% when he heard the others' answers. You know, 5 people are seeing it and I'm not. I just went along with the answers, Tony said. Tony wasn't alone. Primetime put 7 other unsuspecting test subjects on the hot seat. Barbara, for example, got 70% on the written test, but her score fell to 30% when she listened to others' answers. I think I tend to do that, doubt myself when everyone else has their own opinion, Barbara said. David and Graham, unlike the others, gave the right answers even when the group didn't. I wanted to go with what I felt was the correct answer, and I trust myself, and that's what I did, Graham said. Social graces. Primetime tried out another scenario, this time in a more social, relaxed setting. We invited a group of strangers to Jean George's Asian restaurant in Lower Manhattan for a fabulous dinner and a surprise. Party planner Colin Cowie and his friend Donna DeCruz were in on the experiment. Their role was to exhibit outlandish behavior most people wouldn't dream of while out at dinner with a group of strangers. Cowie and DeCruz licked their fingers, a dinner table no-no. Cowie picked his teeth. The guests initially seemed not to take the bait until dessert rolled around. DeCruz told everyone they should pick up pieces of mango face first, using their mouth. Eventually, people who were total strangers at the beginning of the evening were passing fruit back and forth, mouth to mouth. Only Harold and Maria, a Canadian couple, passed on the gustatory familiarity. Finally, Harold was the only one who dared to ask, "What is the point of the dinner?" Cowie explained the experiment to the group. "I think because we broke the rules and we made things possible at the table, several of you followed suit with it." One woman at the table said, "I think the majority of people will look to see what others are doing and follow their example." Conforming can have dangerous consequences. Both of these tests are examples of our human need to conform. In fact, Burns' experiment is a variation of one done many years ago by another scientist trying to decipher an extremely vicious instance of conformity. Why so many Germans followed Adolf Hitler down the path to death and destruction? Burns says there are two ways to explain conformist behavior. One is that they know what their eyes are telling them, and yet they choose to ignore it and go along with the group, to belong to the group, he said. The second explanation is that hearing other opinions, even if they are wrong, can actually change what we see, distorting our own perceptions. Burns wanted to see what was happening in the brain during his experiment. Using an fMRI, Burns found that during the moment of decision, his subjects' brains lit up, not in the area where thinking takes place, but in the back of the brain where vision is interpreted. Essentially, their brains were scrambling messages. People actually believed what others told them they were seeing, not what they saw with their own eyes. What that suggests is that what people tell you, if enough people are telling you, can actually get mixed in with what your own eyes are telling you, Burns said. And for those who went against the group, there was another intriguing result. Their brains lit up in a place called the amygdala, which Burns calls the fear center of the brain. And what we are seeing here, we think, is the fear of standing alone, Burns said. So why do people follow the pack no matter how ridiculous it seems? Perhaps it's not so much about good and evil, right and wrong, smart or stupid. It might be, as Burns' experiment suggests, that our brains get confused between what it sees and what others tell us. Just knowing that might help us guard against it. Okay, so that's the text. At the end of the text, they have descriptions of the more challenging vocabulary words. Within the text, you may have seen them with little superscripts numbers, and those numbers relate to these definitions down below, so that can help you out. I will stop the share for just one moment. A very interesting text. I'm going to start the share again because I want to show you the questions for this one. So here are the questions. This will be obviously in the video. You're watching it right now, so you can re-watch it if you need the questions. I will type the questions down below in the description as well, so you have access to them there, along with the link to the text so you can reread it. Here are the questions. We like to think that we do not follow the crowd, but do you think this is generally true? Can you think of examples in which most people do, in fact, follow the crowd? And why do you think people often follow the crowd? And I just made a note, the word crowd does not always mean a lot of people. Sometimes we think that it means a lot of people, but it doesn't always have to. I see there's a little quotation mark where there shouldn't be one in there. I didn't notice that before, but that's not a big deal. There's also my website address and my email address. If you want to register for the discussion video, we're going to do a live YouTube, so I'll put the announcements out, and there should be if you're already subscribed to the channel, you should get notification. But if you do want to register, then I for sure will mail you the invitation to that, and a reminder of when that's going to happen. This is a little different than what we did before. These questions, you can just think about them and prepare for discussion, or obviously you can write answers to them and practice your writing skills, creating one paragraph or several. You could do one for each possibly. So that's what the questions are for. If you want some feedback on your writing, you can send it to me, but there is a small fee for that. Just keep that in mind. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Button looks similar to that. Notification bell is beside the subscribe. And click on like if you like the video. I hope you do. But that's the text for our 4th reading for the Read Along series. I hope you enjoyed it. Have another look at it, read through it for yourself, and then at least think about those questions, come up with some ideas, maybe for the discussion session, and write them down if you want to practice your writing. It's Ron Johnson from LTL Tutoring Central. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.